Hi guys, it's Jamie here, and today we're going to make this tall tulips folio. To do that, I'm going to use this large Amazon bag and take off some of the excess. Because the bag is actually quite strong, I don't think I need double thickness for this. Now I've cut it down, I'll give you some measurements on the size of the bag cover that I've made and the actual folio. So one side of the folio is 8¼ inches or 22 centimetres, just over 3½ inches or 9¼ centimetres. The cover 4¼ inches, 11 centimetres by 9½ inches, 24 centimetres. Here I have a box that says cream scraps. Often it's just book pages. I'm going to take some things out of here. I have my Mod Podge. All I'm going to do is put my scraps onto my paper bag, make sure it's down and overlapping each piece as we go, all of which is going to build strength into the bag. Do this front, dry it off and do the inside or the back. Once both sides have been covered, the next stage is to take some white gesso and simply roller that over both sides. The next stage, when that's dry, is a chance to use up the inner part of any napkins you've been using for decoupage. Taking one layer only, cover this with Mod Podge and place it over your bag. Press it down, it will wrinkle, and you're going to do a top layer a bit more gently, because otherwise you could rip it. When that's dry, you want to trim off the excess and do the other side. I've pulled out 2 ink colours for this folder. One is the Distress Ink Peeled Paint, which is a vintage green, and the other one is your vintage photo. Or the cover, which I've now folded back into shape. I'm going to be putting the peeled paint round the edges, and once you've gone round the edges, we're going to take the vintage photo and do less of the edge, but with the vintage photo going on top of the peeled paint. For the papers, what I did to make sure they all lined up nicely when inside each other was, with each paper as you go down, I took off 1mm, which I don't think really translates in inch terms, because 1mm is one of those tiny marks. It's the tiniest of slithers off an inch. I did that equally on each paper. So if this was 9¼ this was 9¼ minus a millimetre, the next one -2, and so on all the way down. I cut them folded. That's how I managed to line up all my papers so none are jutting out. With the papers, I am going to edge them, but I'll be edging them just with the vintage photo, because as you can see, I've taken the Jade Garden from our paper set and mixed them with the tulips to create a bigger folio. Therefore I don't want to edge them with the green. Now all the papers have had the edges stained, the next thing is going to be to sew them into the cover. To do that, I am going to use some embroidery thread. What I like to do with embroidery thread is wax it, which means using the beeswax and running the thread through it. And I just think this makes the thread stiffer, easier to sew with, but that way you can get a coordinating thread colour if you want one. To sew it, you're going to want nearly 3 times the amount of thread as the length of your journal. And the next thing you're going to want to do is to get everything lined up together. Often the best way to do this is going to be to use some paper clips or some way of clipping your papers together in that center area. Other thing is going to be to secure it into your cover at about the halfway point as well. Some people do this by eye. I tend to measure. I want the center point of the whole thing. I also want to be slightly inside of the booklet with my next marks. 9 that way, 9 that way. That is going to be where I punch my 3 holes. To make it easier to punch the holes, if you put it inside an existing book, it will then cradle that into that central area. So all you're doing then is punching down into a book that you don't necessarily want to use. Need an awl, and you punch where you've marked the holes. You go through that centre hole. You come up through your bottom hole, all the way to the top and through. Back up through that centre hole, but the other side of your long thread. Once you've got your threads either side, pull it all tight, and then you can just tie it off, tying the knot so it goes one way, then the opposite way. Up to you whether you remove all the thread or leave some of the thread dangling. That's our papers. Now in the Tall Folio, the next stage is we're going to finish the cover. The next thing I want to do is add our ties, which is just going to be a simple ribbon tie. I need to find the halfway point so that I have a rough idea where it's going. Use an all-purpose glue, which is like Fabri-Tac. Put some straightforward masking tape over it, and also the first part of the cover. I'd like to make this cover even more decorative. What I've done is print up one of the journaling pages slightly smaller, cut out one of the images, and I'm going to use that on my front cover. The back has been covered in a similar manner. We can move on to the inside cover. I've cut some pieces for that. Something that comes with the kit are these long pockets. I'm not sure I'm very keen on how I've cut that one out. Though it is matching. I might put that on the back cover. I think that's nicer for the front cover. And for the back inside cover, a matching piece. There are 2 more pockets of these long pockets in this kit. I may or may not use this one though, because you could have one on top of the other. But I think I'm not overly keen on this one, so I'm going to just use the smaller one and probably face it that way. I'm going to start to decorate the folio papers. I have noticed that I've put a couple of papers in upside down, therefore I'm going to cover up that design with another piece of paper, say that one, and we'll make a feature of this somehow. We will add a flip, have these envelopes which are the fancy envelopes. I think this is rosewood blush, but I'll check those details and get the link to you in the video description. We could put flip on here. So to make this flip hidden, I'm going to attach the envelope to the paper first before putting the paper down. The main thing when doing this is to leave enough room that it can easily fold over. That's very dark, so unless you were using a white gel pen, you can't write on that. I'm wondering about putting something underneath it decorative. That could have something put inside it. Don't know if that will fit. Yes, it will. So all I've done here is fold a piece of spare paper up in thirds, rounded the corners and stained it with vintage photo. If we've got anything that might fit over that and decorate it, I could cut that image out, okay, and that will fit into that envelope. The front of that envelope is a little dull as well. We could add that image onto the front of the envelope. Got quite a bit going on now on this page. This one will leave blank so you can write on it. We will need to put something into the pocket. I think you could get a quote on there. Those are quite pretty. We could just add a small fussy cut. On this side I'm going to add think I'm going to add this pink as a marked writing area. Okay, I'm going to add that fussy cut to the bottom. I do have a quote that if I cut it down will fit, leaving that one blank. That one has a writing space already. This one, I could take some off that and actually add one of the long pockets. I do think we can just have some writing pages. I don't want to use every single fussy cut I have up before I reach the centre. Centre pages that are too pretty to touch. We get on to a few of these pages. I must have another upside down one somewhere. Aha, there. Another something over this one, and then another flip of some sort. Flip at the top, and then I do have more. The double one. Do a fussy cut here. Do need to consider if we're going to decorate those envelopes, and that's covered up that other upside down one. What we also have in the pack are a couple of corner pockets. A strong one there. I'm going to put that down as a page decoration. On this page we could place an envelope at the bottom that you just put something into. Works better on that page, I think. I've pulled some more decorating pieces together by printing up some of the papers for a second time in a slightly smaller format and cutting those up. I've also printed up some of the extras and back those with card, so we can start to put those in as ephemera into the pockets. Add that as a flip. I just want to make sure there isn't a darker page, because if it's light you can write on it easily, but a dark page is harder to write on, like that one. That's spotty, so what you could do is give it a writing area that it attaches to. Let's just put this down and put it, I think, at this edge. You could even make that a pocket as well. I might do that. We will go halfway down this and use the circle punch to take out a notch in this paper. Where I've taken out the notch and the paper has been stained, put some stain around that notch area. As I'm doing a few flips, I'm wondering about maybe hinging it around the page and then running something down here. I'm going to put some lace down this edge. I'm going to take this part of a page, add a hinge, and to that hinge I've already added a quote. I think that's all my extra hinge pages added. I do have another small envelope which I might put under this picture here, and now I do want to see what I have in the way of little pieces for these envelopes and pockets. We have a tall one here as a writing card, but maybe decorate it with a fussy cut. That would go in that one when it's dry. Does that fit? Not really. I want something slimmer. Any size in that. Big pocket. Small one. Another side one. Now we have some little ones. Cut these ones down, hopefully to fit, and rounded the corners again and put new ink stain around them. And we have this big one at the back. I do also have some fussy cuts left and some undecorated bits and pieces. I'm going to add that small fussy cut to the front of that envelope. This one I will add some lace. There's now lace on, I think, 4 pages in the journal. I've done 2 pages with a top piece of lace, and I think it's 2 pages with a side piece. I've also, while I was waiting for that to dry, I fussy cut out that flower head and added it to the top of that envelope. The only other thing I do have is quite a few fussy cuts that could be added in things like the corner of pages and cut some of it off. I have a quote which might be quite nice to put on. Yeah, I'm going to put it on this one. I think that is the inside done. That was a lot of very quick decorating ideas. Therefore, I'm going to go through it so you can see what's been done in the order, because I was backwards and forwards throughout the journal. The journal starts with a big pocket on the inside cover and a writing card. It then has a very highly decorative page, a writing page, the first envelope flip page, which has a small writing booklet, 2 writing pages decorated with a fussy cut and some lace, another 2 writing pages, one decorated with a writing space, fussy cut and a quote, a page that already has a writing space as part of the design, opposite which there's a long pocket with a tag in it that you could write on, plus the lace decoration, which is hiding the hinge for the following page that flips out to reveal a pocket envelope and a tag. And of course you could write on here as well. The centre pages are the decorative ones. Then we come to a page that's actually flips up and again has quite a lot of writing space. This is, I consider it, a purely decorative page, which is followed by a page that you could write on but also has a corner pocket and a tag. Another decorative style page with a small pocket envelope and a small tag. A writing page with half a fussy cut, so I deliberately took that one slightly off the page and trimmed it up after it had been added. There's a flip page that can be written on and also contains a pocket. Within that pocket there are 2 tags, a smaller one and a larger one, plus that pocket was decorated with a fussy cut. The second of the top trimmed lace pages that you can write on, the second corner pocket with tags, you could write on that page as well, and the tags you can write on. Double flip envelope page, 2 small envelopes that flip open to reveal small tags, which I had to cut down to fit but are within the theme and part of the kit. We go from a double flip page over to a very simple writing page edged in lace. The final page of the journal is another writing page, part of the kit, and then on the back inside cover another tall slim pocket with 2 tags. The back has also been covered and the closure is the ribbon that's been secured with glue, masking tape and a couple of layers of paper. That is the Tall Tulip folio, and I'm loving not only the amount of space there is in there but also that tall narrow size. It feels really, really good in your hands. I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial and the short walkthrough, and I will catch you next time.